What a great question. I would say no. There's no interval. It really depends on what reliability means for you. I would say that I don't know. It depends if your wife is in this truck or not. It depends if you need this thing desperately. If you want ultimate reliability and safety and not have to worry about whether the thing's going to leave you somewhere, you know, maybe maybe once every 6 years, maybe once every 100,000 miles, something like that, probably could be good. But is that just a gut check? Yeah, it's totally a gut check. I mean, maybe we can use your question as a place to see some comments from below to say, we look at them below to say, hey, what was your guys' experience? How long did yours go before you had a problem? I can tell you, 6 years is a long time to ask an O-ring to live. It just is. So you got a timing thing where you just have rubber just degrading just from sitting, right? And 100,000 miles of use is also a lot of that too. But if you're taking this thing for in-town driving and you got a spare truck and all this kind of stuff, maybe wait till there's a problem, right? But if the case is not that, if the case is that no, really, I need this thing to work. I got my kids in there, man. I got my wife in there. I got my girl in there. I want to make sure that they're taken care of. I want to make sure that they're not having a problem. I'll do my part here in ensuring their safety. I would say then more often is better than less. Now that said, a nice little tip and trick for you is if you've got like a monitor or a scan tool of some kind that can give you live data, very much like an Edge Insight CTS3, say, or even your SCT tuner or a scan gauge or even a Torque Pro app, through a Bluetooth dongle, any of those things, which you can do to kind of get a sense of, hey, how are things going in high pressure oil system land. Take a look. If you've got stock injectors and a stock oil pump, and these numbers do vary just a little bit if that's not the case for you, if you've got something that's not stock and it takes more, you can take a look at your injection pressure regulator's duty cycle and use that as an indication of the health of stuff. So when things start to leak, so very seldom, it does happen, but very seldom do you go from things are working to it's just broken, you're stuck on the side of the road, you got nothing. At least in dummy plug and standpipe land, if you want to get a sense of the health of your O-rings and stuff, take a look at IPR duty cycle at full operating temperature, so 190-degree oil or more after you've been driving for a little bit. Maybe stop, come to a complete stop, put it, keep it in drive, and take a look at the IPR duty cycle and verify that it's not more than 23%. The closer it gets to 30%, the closer you are to a no start. And so it kind of gives you some warning to say, hey, look, I'm having to work a little bit too hard and all this kind of stuff. An extension of this would be, hey, look, you're trying to accelerate. You're just not having the power that you used to have. And you take a look at your IPR duty cycle when you got your foot in it, and you've got the IPR duty cycle is just floored at 85%. That's not good either. That gives you an idea that, hey, look, I'm giving it all I can, Scotty. There's just nothing left. Now, as far as a question you didn't ask, but it's very related, is how long should I go before changing out one of these bad boys, changing out my high pressure oil pump? I would say that these do fail catastrophically. These do fail without warning. And if you've got more than, I'll call it 150,000 miles on your early build HPOP, or you've got more than, I'll call it 190,000, maybe 200,000 on your late build, so not the non-barrel style type HPOP, I would tell you that your HPOP owes you no favors. And I would not resort to changing out the snap to connect fitting on the later side, not with that kind of mileage anyway. Just the pump owes you no favors. One of my trucks is an '06 F250, 230,000 miles, somewhere in there. I've got a YouTube video on this on my YouTube channel. That pump just died. I was driving and then I just wasn't. I was like, what the heck happened? I was on the side of the road. I was like, I know what just happened. Crank. Oh, I got nothing for ICP and game freaking over. So I hope this answers your question. The devil's in the details just a little bit on this, but God's got you. So don't spend too much worrying about that. But go ahead and instead just take a look at things and say, hey, how do I use my truck? What level of reliability do I need in my truck? And then, what's the wallet look like? And then maybe I have monitoring gauges as a way to figure out, just how dire things are. But just understand how the world actually works. Physics is a thing. O-rings get weak, all this kind of stuff. And find my video on diesel site standpipes that talks about the proper way to install those puppies so you're not having to do it and then do it over again. Most high pressure oil issues, actually, they raise their ugly head within 10,000 miles of somebody working on it. Why? Because they just didn't know what they were doing. So I hope this helps. FICMRepair.com. We're all in this together. Thanks, guys.